What is the role of government? Should they be doing businesses or should they be controlling it? The referee, should he be playing the game or controlling the games? You know the difference in or the conflicts in interest, right? When you have the government controlling and playing at the same time, would the game be fair? Let's understand that. You might have seen a lot of those videos and news and WhatsApp forwards talking about NDA government selling India's publicized companies, BPCL, IOCL. Almost all these publicized companies are up for sale, right? I don't know, in my part of the world, in Kerala, I can see that almost every day all these newspapers are actually talking about big companies, private sectors and public sectors companies are joining together, and public sectors companies are being sold to the private sector, big bourgeois companies, and government is making a lot of money. Government is slowly selling India. Do you believe that? Hi all, welcome back to another episode. In this video, we would try to understand, is India up for sale? I hope you guys are sound and safe. Let's grimble. What is a public sector company? A public sector company is where government is holding maximum shares. So who is paying the salaries? In most cases, it is government. Who is taking the profit? In most cases, government. Who's paying for the losses? In most cases, government. So in a public sector company, if any growth is happening, the benefit is going to government. And if there is any serious losses that the company is going through, the government has to pay for that. A public sector company can be utilized by any running government for its political gains. You give them jobs, you make sure that they are not losing their jobs, and you keep adding the benefits, and you are sure that those people are going to be a part of your vote bank. Now, when the company is running under loss for a long term, the money that they are using to pay all these employees or to cover up these losses is our tax money. And that is how they survive in the market. People would eventually make noise, like how they are doing now and how they have done in the past, that the taxes are going up, the petrol prices and the fuel prices is going up. In that case, these governments would be blaming the previous governments, and the blame game goes on. And eventually they will try to find some or other show and hide all these things under that. And we all know how our national medias and small-time medias are sold, right? So these people would actually show something new, something a bit controversial to cover up all the issues that the government is currently facing. And eventually the common man, since he has a lot of other things to worry about, will forget about what is the actual issue that he has in front or the country is facing. Let's take an example when government is selling milk. Now, when government is selling milk, are we getting milk free of cost? Or is there any benefit that is happening to the common man? I don't see any. And what if the company is under loss? Who's going to pay for it? I hope you guys are getting the equation right. Alright, so let's understand what an entrepreneur is. Who is he? In most cases, we have seen that he's the cool dude, he's the bourgeois who roams around cities, countries, who lives in a big mansion, he has multiple cars, and he orders things, right? And who's the worker? The guy who works round the clock, who does all the hard work to make the entrepreneur rich. You might have seen those memes and WhatsApp forwards which says that the workforce make the man rich, make the entrepreneur rich, the company owner rich, and these people would always be remained as a working class itself. Is that exactly how it is? The entrepreneur is the guy who arranges for everything. The idea might be his, the supply, the contacts that he has, the right kind of people that he chooses to be partnered with, the right kind of people that he chooses to work with him. And once that is done, who takes care of their families, who takes care of their medical, who takes care of their health issues and all those things, who make sure that everyone is available, and if someone is falling sick or someone is not able to work on a particular day or for a week, who make sure that the business is still ongoing and the people who are not able to work on that day is still getting paid, who arranges for things, who takes care of the legal part, who makes sure that you have your bread and butter on time on your table so that you can be ready to work for him. I'm not saying that workers are not doing any work. I'm not saying that, I'm a worker too. Yeah, I work for an MNC. But I know how exactly an MNC works. Though most of us have the availability and chances of knowing how things are, we don't really put in much of an effort to understand if that is how the things are. You might have often heard that the corporates are going to eat us or they're going to swallow us very soon. At least from my childhood, I have heard this, that once the corporates are into the game, you would not even have permission to pluck a plant in your own courtyard. In Kerala, that was the biggest thing. America is going to come and they're going to control everyone once the FDI is in place. But after so many years, do you see any change? You can still pluck the plants. You can still do what you want. The only thing is that there should be a fair game, right? So when there is a business opportunity for anyone at all, that should be given to the right person. And who is going to benefit out of it? Is it only the company who is doing the business? Isn't the government benefited? Isn't the common man benefited? I suppose they all are. So let's go a bit more deeper. What is monetization? Are we selling the whole country or a company to the private parties? Not exactly. So when we monetize, what we are doing actually is government is transferring the revenue rights to a private firm for a certain period of time. It could be 6 months, it could be 6 years. And what are these private assets that we have? The stadiums, the highways, the petroleum companies. So when we have these asset disinvestments happening, what are the companies who are actually buying it? Is it always as shown by these medias, Ambani's and Adani's? Or is it the common man itself? I have a few shares in some of those companies. Most of the new generation people nowadays have. Now, when you and I are buying these shares of IOCL or BPCL from the any of those platforms, what exactly are we doing? We are becoming a part of the monetization. And you also would have seen a lot of people coming in the night discussions on these news channels, right? Who is talking about how we are selling each and everything that is possible, how NDA is so keen on selling India, and how the previous government, UPA, or any other government for that matter, were so keen to protect our country, and these people are selling the country, right? And they would try to push it in such a way that you would realize or you would feel that there is no future for this country and you would not have any rights on your own neighborhood very soon. But when you think about that, you have to remember about what was our country's status on this economy before 1990. Now, before 1990, we had cities like Bombay, Madras, and Kolkata, which all were filled with these trade unions. We used to have something called as license Raj. Now, you might have heard about a term called as chronism. What is chronism? Chronism is where we would choose a certain set of people or companies for our vested interests or others or better people to do certain jobs. Now, some companies like Tata, Birla were the only companies who could manufacture certain products. Even if you have the equipments, even if you have the ability to do that, you may not be able to do it. You will not be getting the permission. Remember, if you had to buy an ambassador car back then, you had to wait for months together. You had to beg to get a car, unless you are, you're a political person or you have some influences. And how is it today? Whoever wants to come into the market to do some business, they can, right? You want to open up an online store, you can. It's a different question. It's a different ball game altogether. Now, you would have to prove yourself by competing in the open market and stand on your own legs. That's a different story. Now, that is how it should be, right? And how is it benefiting the people? People who actually were not able to do business before are able to do it now, and the people who doesn't do any business, who are not interested in business, even they are benefited out of it. How is it? The guys who are doing these businesses are competing amongst themselves to give you the best product at the best price. Now, while you watch a YouTube video, when there is an ad comes, what happens? The guy who's selling the product through that ad is selling at a very low cost. Is that guy benefited? Yes. Is YouTube benefited? Of course, yes. And how about you? If that particular product matches your needs and if it is matches your price bracket, you're buying it, even you're benefited. We all are benefited when it comes to an open market. Now, I'm not saying that open market is the thing for the rest of the lives. No, we are evolving, and this is the current best thing that is possible at this moment. And these companies, when they're up for sale, these public sector companies, are these just goodies? Is there a real queue to buy that? Are people really interested in it? We have to understand that these companies come at a certain cost and a lot of liabilities too, right? Now, a company like Air India, which was owned by Tata in the past, they have been trying to sell it for ages. Is anyone buying it? Why is it so? It's mainly because when you're buying these companies, there's a lot of liabilities and issues that these companies are already into, which you will have to resolve. And how about those workers who have been working here for past more than 10, 15 years with a certain mindset? Is it easy to change them? You cannot get into a company and change everything overnight. Think about this. You are buying a small firm where you have 15 or 20 people working there for, let's say, around 3-4 years. Is it going to be easy for you to act as a new boss there? If you want to make some real changes to the setup, is it going to be easy? I don't think so somehow. Now, I would rather reckon if you start a new company from the desks, that is going to be much more easier than this. And do you know what is nationalization means? Who started this nationalization? Now, nationalization is acquiring companies which were already existing and making them nationalized. Indira Gandhi was the first person to do that. Somewhere in 1970s is when she actually started with life insurance companies. Then all these banks, Syndicate Bank for an example, it was taken because it was not doing good business in the rural areas. So all these companies were run by some private firms once upon a time. As I said earlier, Air India was once upon a time run by Tata. Perhaps it was profitable then. We nationalized it. Now it is up for sale, and no one wants to pitch it. What a mockery! You know how many employees are there in BSNL? It has almost a lakh employees. How many employees do you think I've got in Geo? Less than 20,000. And you certainly know the difference. Who is a better company? Of course, BSNL is doing a lot of business in the rural areas, but who's paying for it? You and I. We are. Our taxes are used to build all these BSNL towers, and all those BSNL employees who are sitting there, whom you go and approach for a new connection, will take ages to respond. Most of them would be on lunch round the clock. So, a point that I would request, I would like to everyone to understand and remember is that when a public sector company is doing really bad because of the poor decisions made by the government, because of the poor workers, poor attitude of the management towards things, what actually happens? Who pays for this? It's our tax money that compensates for all these, your and mine. The money that we give every year with every purchase. For a person who buys things and who's paying 1 or 2 rupees every transaction to the government as tax, may not really realize the pain of it. But ask a person who is paying taxes in single shots, a guy who's doing a small business, a guy who's working for an IT firm or a private sector firm. They are the people who would really feel the pain. I feel the pain. Are we not happy to give the money to the government? We are 100% happy. But if the money is used for things that doesn't matter, things that doesn't really count well, is that what we want to happen? No. We want this money to be used for a better infrastructure, better schools, better hospitals for the coming generations. So every time when we are spending money, let's think about this. Let us be a more responsible person than what we were yesterday. We all know that no politician brings money from their home. So with that note, thank you so much for joining once again, and I'll see you in the next video. You stay safe. Bye.